Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So my last video was kind of all over the place and it was not a good introduction for myself. This is kind of just telling you guys about my story and my miscarriage, what happened, how I got pregnant, all of that kind of stuff, because I did introduce it a little bit in my last video, but like I said, the whole video was just all over the place. It did not work out at all. It was very off a whim. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it, but I never really thought it through about what my first video should be. I would have rather this been my first video, as my daughter is a very big part of my life. She has made me who I am today, and that's how I would have liked to introduce this whole channel, but that is not how it went, so I would like to just start over. Ignore the last video. I'm not going to delete it because I'd like to look back and be like, oh my god, it was embarrassing, but it's memories. I'll just start from the beginning. Basically, my daughter, Olivia Noelle, I don't really want to get any hate for this, just because I am going to be completely honest with all of you. Not everybody knows this, so I'm basically telling my entire family right now what exactly happened when I got pregnant. So, I know obviously I'm putting myself out there. There's gonna be some amount of hate, but it doesn't really affect me now. It's in the past, but she's still in my life, kind of thing. Okay, but Olivia was what you like to call an on-purpose baby. We were trying to have her. This is where it gets kind of like, that probably wasn't the best idea. I know that now that I'm a little older. I was 16, almost 17. It was like a month away from 17 when we decided to try to have a baby. I was like almost a year into the relationship with the boyfriend I was with. I'm not going to say his name just for privacy purposes, but it was not something we were just like, oh, we're just going to try for a baby. It was not off a whim like that. I had a pregnancy scare, and basically I was worried that I got pregnant due to what it's called like pre-cum, and it's basically, it's like a 1% chance, but I was educated, but I just wasn't that educated. I knew what sex was. I knew what happened when you did it. We were being safe, but that one time I was like, okay, just pull out. Like, it was one of my really bad moments, and I feel like Olivia did come at the perfect time in my life, where I was just going down a very bad path, and I was doing a bunch of things I shouldn't have been doing, and basically it was the best time for her to come. She kind of knocked me back into where I needed to be and got me back on track. But I was just like, okay, I'm not pregnant. We took a pregnancy test, it came back negative. I was kind of like, oh, okay, I was really hoping that it would turn out positive. It was just that, like, moment where I was like, okay, I know it's not the best time, but I was really hoping that it would be positive, kind of thing. But we decided to try from there, and I was 16, I was very fertile, so it happened the first month, and I learned all my ovulation stuff. I had my period tracker. I didn't go spend a bunch of money on ovulation tests. I didn't really go through that much extent to try, but we were like, okay, we'll try this 1 month. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. But it did. So I got pregnant with her, and it was like February 23rd that I found out. And it was just like, I I found out at Walmart because I was just so anxious to take the test. I've been taking tests up until then, since like a week after we started doing everything. So, and obviously you can't find out that early, so I was about 3 weeks along when I found out. And took the test at Walmart, and I was like, I think I see a line. So I walked out to my mom. I was like, is there a line there? And she's like, yeah, there's a line. I started breaking down crying. I was overjoyed, happy to know that I was going to be a mom, like right then and there. It snapped me back into where I needed to be. I switched schools. I was back on track with school, getting good grades, and I stopped doing basically everything that I was doing before. Throughout that whole process, I did lose a lot of friends because they were still doing everything that they shouldn't be doing. They weren't exactly growing up. That matured me a lot because I had to. I was having a baby on the way. I was going to have a child. I needed to grow up and mature a lot faster than everybody else. Any of my other friends did. They were still 15, 16. So they were still having fun going to parties, and I was staying at home studying, trying to finish school before my daughter came. So my birthday is March 21st, and everybody basically got me baby stuff. That's all I wanted, was baby clothes. We didn't know the gender yet. I was like 4 weeks along, which was a big surprise. I found out February 23rd, and I had to have been like 2-3 weeks along. It's impossible to find out before then. So the baby basically stopped growing at 4 weeks. And we didn't exactly know that because from the dates he gave us, from the dates I had run positive, they were just all off, and we were confused about that, but we weren't worried. I, on the other hand, didn't show it as much, but I was stressed out throughout the entire time I was pregnant. I knew something was going to happen. It was just like that mother instinct. I was just like, something bad is going to happen. I need like reassurance. I need something. And I kept faking that I was like, oh, I'm spotting. Can we go to the hospital? Just so I could see like a picture of the baby. And they kept saying, we don't see anything yet. It's not there yet. And it was just growing really slowly. I'm guessing it was a miscarriage, but I wasn't diagnosed with that. I was diagnosed with a miscarriage. But like I said, the dates were just so off, it didn't make any sense. But basically, March 21st, everybody got me baby stuff. I was still pregnant at that time. And it was a good day. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. I was like, everything was fine until it wasn't. And the next morning, we went to Babies R Us. We were looking at bedding for girls because I love to plan ahead. So I was looking for girl bedding. I couldn't decide which one I wanted. And went home, and I started bleeding. It was just like my heart dropped the minute I saw it. And it was very hard. I knew what was happening, but I didn't want to actually believe it. So I was like, okay, let's wait a little bit, maybe it will slow down. And I kept thinking, oh yeah, it's slowing down. But now that I've like realized what's happening and I look back on it, it wasn't slowing down. It was staying exactly the same. But we went to the hospital because it just wasn't getting much change at all. So, excuse me. So, we went to the hospital, they checked, and the baby was bigger, but this was like a week after I got my other ultrasound, which the picture's back there. You can look on my other video for the Instagram picture. I mean, oh my god, the ultrasound picture. But I had that one, and the baby was bigger, but it wasn't actually the baby that was bigger, it was more the sac it was in that was bigger. But they did different ultrasounds, so it was like the first one was the one on my like stomach, and the other one was a transvaginal one. And I was like, oh look, the baby's bigger. Like that brought up my hope a lot. Like I was like, okay, the baby's bigger, everything's fine. So they sat us in a room. They took my HCG levels, so they like took my blood. For those of you who don't know, who haven't been pregnant yet, they took my blood to check my HCG levels, and the doctor comes in my room and he's just like, so you're having a miscarriage. It was just like, it just slipped right out of her mouth as if it was so easy for her, and I swear I was about to jump across the table and punch her in the face because she just said it so easily, and I'm just like, can you have a little more sympathy for me? I mean, I'm losing my child right now, and you could just say it so easily. She's just like, your HCG levels were at this number and now they're lower. So I was just like, you're just saying it so easily. Are you gonna like say, oh, I'm sorry for your loss? She never said anything. She's like, okay, well, check, see if everything's going fine, and then you can go. I was like, okay. I started like tearing up, crying. It was very hard. So she left the room, and I just broke down. I broke down. It was terrible. Like my heart just dropped. I couldn't move. I couldn't function. When everything left, everything was better. Not better. When the doctor left, she checked everything. We went home, and I was just on my bed. Everybody was like, okay, you need to eat something. I was like, I'm not eating. I'm not doing anything. I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay here and stare at my wall, which is basically what I did. For the next week, I think it was like a week, I just laid on my bed, stared at my ceiling or my wall. I didn't move. I found it very hard to cope with. It was just like, sorry. I didn't want to believe it. It was just like so shocking. I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't know. I didn't want to believe it. Until they came back and I took a pregnancy test. I kept taking them. I was like, maybe the line will show up, it will come back darker. But it kept getting lighter. But basically I was so like, I don't know how to explain what I was feeling. It was so unbelievable. And it was just heartbreaking to know that I was gonna be a parent and then I wasn't. But now that it's a little later into it, I've realized that, yeah, I am a parent, just not to a living child. I have an angel baby who's there to watch over me whenever I need to. And I don't want to say it's a blessing in disguise, because by no means is it ever a blessing to lose a child. But it kind of was. I mean, now I've finished high school, I've gotten back on track, but I'm still able to go to college, do everything I need to do before I have other children. I mean, my mom says all the time, God never makes mistakes, but it's like, at that moment I was like, he screwed up. This was something he shouldn't have done. But now, looking back on it, I was like, he never makes mistakes. He knew I wouldn't be able to handle that much pressure and do what I wanted to do. I mean, then I wanted to be a nurse, but now I want to go into the police academy, which, for those of you who don't know, it's a full-time school thing. You're there for 9 hours, and it's right in the middle of the day. It's from 12 to 9. That's 9 hours straight, plus all the studying you have to do. It would be impossible with a baby, and now I understand that, but it doesn't mean I'm happy about losing her. I would have much rather her be here than up in heaven, but that's just how everything worked out. For how I told my parents, my mom actually realized it before me, because she was just like, we were just talking about it. She was like, oh, you know, it was so hard to explain. Like, at that time, I took a pregnancy test on my own, and it was just like, it came back negative. That's when we started trying. But she was just like, oh, you know, pre-cum can get you pregnant. So I was like, this is like the perfect option to figure out. Oh, like, I didn't know that. Like, just pretend I had no idea that could happen. So she went out and bought a pregnancy test, and again, I took it at Walmart. And that's how I found out, actually, was when she told me to take a pregnancy test. And I was happy, but I had to pretend like I wasn't, because she had to think I wasn't trying, which, again, I was trying for my daughter. And it wasn't my brightest moment, but I also didn't think it through. It was within a week that I was like, okay, we should try for a baby. Like, it was a week type of thing. And luckily I was like ovulating right then. So my dad, he's working a lot, so we were out at Costco, and I was just like, I'm pregnant. Like, I just told him straight out like that, and he's like, shut up. He thought I was pranking him, and I was just like, I'm not pranking you. Like, I really am pregnant. I showed him the pregnancy test. He just like stopped in his foot tracks and was like, Haley, why would you do this? Like, he told my mom, he's like, oh, she needs to get an abortion. She's never gonna be able to finish school. But he would never tell me that. But I was never going to get an abortion, not even if the baby was an accident. I'm definitely pro-life, which a lot of people also don't agree with, but I find no excuse to ever kill an innocent child, ever. Even if it was, like, Night Tracy got raped. I mean, the child didn't do anything. I mean, you could carry her or him until full term and then put the baby up for adoption. But, I mean, pro-life all the way. I would never abort my baby, ever. But yeah, that's basically my story of my miscarriage. It was actually a lot harder for me to talk about than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I think my next video will be the controversial parent topics, and I'll do those because, I mean, while I was pregnant I had to think a lot about that, and I have all my answers now. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye.